Welcome to Around the Boxes, episode number 6. Hopefully I timed this intro correct this time around. I am still learning. I think I did, so I don't have to redo it again like last week, so we're good, we did it, okay? Welcome back to Around the Boxes. If you're new here, this is my sort of weekly, trying to get to the point where it's weekly. Right now it's been kind of every other week, but my regular comic book collecting live streams where I hop on, show you guys my new pickups, talk about the new ones coming out and other news in the comic book industry, things like that. We just kind of hang out, anyone pops in the chat. If you got topics, you got questions, things like that, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts as well. So, or you can watch this back as a video, in which case, feel free to leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe for more of these, and more videos and other content that I'm going to be making very soon. But today, guys, we have by far my most exciting Around the Boxes episode, because today I don't have a lot of pickups. My stack is pretty small. These are my pickups this week. But in that pile, you may even see it on the bottom there, and I teased it in the title and thumbnail, is probably the awesomest comic book that I have bought in the last 5 years. Easily. I mean, it is an awesome pickup. So we're going to get to that. So stay tuned, because you guys aren't going to want to miss this. Trust me. If you've watched my videos in the past, if you know how big of a fan I am of Spiderman and Amazing Spider-Man and all this stuff, you guys are going to want to see this pickup, because, oh my gosh, is it exciting and awesome. But before I dive into that, I had a few other things I wanted to do. I want to, as always with these episodes, I try to kind of split them between showcasing my new pickups, as well as kind of diving into my collection and showing you some books from my collection. So in the past, I've gone into, my modern Amazing Spider-Man run. I've gone into, last week I had my Silver Age collection of comics that aren't Amazing Spider-Man. This week I wanted to go through my signed comic book collection and showcase all of my comics that I have that have been signed, which may or may not have something to do with my new pickup this week, in case you couldn't tell from the thumbnail. But we'll get to that, so I want to go through those first, kind of showcase some of my signed comic books from my collection, and then we'll jump into my new books. And we'll figure it out from there, man. We're just going as we go, What else happened this week? There's some new No Way Home leaks. That's pretty exciting. I'm not going to show them on stream, obviously, because, some people don't want to see them, and I don't want Sony to get mad at me, but they look pretty good, man. We're waiting for a new trailer. We are waiting for a new trailer. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Also, in case you can't tell, I am long overdue for a shave and a haircut, so don't mind me looking like a bum. It is what it is, I've just been really busy, so. But I want to dive into some comic books, because that's what you guys are here to see. So, I'm going to grab my pile over here. So this is my signed comic book collection. These are all of my comic books that I have that are signed. I want to go through them, kind of talk about how I got them. I believe all of these are actually comic books that I personally got signed, because I had never bought a signed comic book before today. But I want to go through these and kind of show them to you, because if you haven't watched my videos for a while, or you're new to the channel, you probably haven't seen these. So I want to kind of go through and show them to you. So first comic book that I have signed. This is actually the first comic book that I ever got signed. I believe, for the most part, these are in order of when I got them signed. Might not be entirely true, but that's kind of what I tried to do with sorting them. So this first book is the first comic I ever got signed. And this is actually a real throwback. This is Age of Ultron, book 10. I got it signed by Brandon Peterson right here. He is the artist for this issue. He drew this cover. But this I got signed at the comic store that I went to down in Tampa. It's called Heroes Haven. I'll give them a shout out. Heroes Haven's a pretty big franchise, pretty big comic store, so they would have creators out to do signings. So a lot of these books I actually got signed through signings at Heroes Haven, which was awesome. I really missed that store, because they regularly had signings, and I kind of wish I had something like that here. But so this Age of Ultron was the second, well, it was the first Marvel event that I picked up modern comics wise, because if you guys don't know, when I first got into collecting comics, I was collecting back issues exclusively, and it wasn't until a few years in that I started actually picking up new books. And I started with Amazing Spider-Man, which you can go check out the other Around the Boxes episode on that run. If I remember, I'll put a little link up at the top of the video if you want to go and check that out. But right around the time I started picking up the Amazing Spider-Man run, Age of Ultron came out, so I picked that up because it looked cool. And then, of course, a few years later, they named a movie after it. So, pretty big deal. But this is issue 10. This is the last issue. And I remember they had Brandon Peterson coming out for a signing, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I got this signed, and yeah. My first ever signed comic book. It's pretty cool. Next, I almost spilled my water. That would have been bad. I'm going to move that. Put it right there. That seems like a safer spot. Got my signature Amazing Spider-Man glass. Don't want to break it. Alright, these next two comics, I also got signed at Heroes Haven. They're actually signed by two creators. This is Harley Quinn, New 52, issue 0 and issue 1, and they are both signed by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, which are the writers / Amanda did some, if not all, of the art for these comics. I don't remember if she just did the cover art or if she did the interior art. But they are actually married, and they wrote this book together, which is kind of cool. So you can see the signatures here and here. Now, this was back when I was first kind of getting into some DC comic books. I specifically picked these up because they were coming to do the signing, and I wanted to get them signed. But I actually did really enjoy these comics. This was a pretty fun comic run. I really enjoyed the New 52 Harley Quinn, but... yeah, so some DC comics in here. I bet you didn't expect to see that. Which, by the way, it was like 2, 3, or 4 Around the Boxes episodes ago where I mentioned, if you guys have any DC comics recommendations, to leave them in the comments. I have yet to get a solid recommendation, so either DC comics really suck or you DC fans aren't coming through. So if you guys have any suggestions for good DC comics coming out right now, leave them in the comments, because I would love to try reading some. But I just don't know what's good or where to even jump on, because they're kind of confusing. I don't really know where to jump in, but I'd be interested in Wonder Woman or Flash or Batman. What are you guys reading? That's my question. These next books are pretty cool ones. These are some of the Marvel Now Guardians of the Galaxy run. This is signed. All of these next few are signed by Steve McNiven and Justin Ponzer. Steve McNiven is the artist on these issues, and if I remember correctly, Justin Ponzer is the colorist or the inker. I'm gonna look it up. I want to make sure, because I don't want to give false information. I can just check on my phone real quick. But this is the Guardians of the Galaxy run that kind of exposed. Here we go. Colorist. Justin Ponzer is colorist. But this is the run that came out shortly before they announced the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So I remember this coming out back in the day, and myself and some of my other friends on YouTube were picking it up, and it was kind of a big deal. And it was so good, and this was my first exposure to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I had no clue who they were before this comic book came out. And it was such a good run, and then they announced the movie, and the rest is history from there. Now the Guardians are mainstream popular. I've been thinking about picking up the Guardians of the Galaxy run coming out now. I haven't picked up Guardians for a few years now, but I think I might check it out, because I do really like the franchise. But yeah, Steve McNiven there, Justin Ponzer there. That's issue 0.1. Then I have issue 1. Again, signed by Steve McNiven and... where is it? Oh, Justin Ponzer up here. So this is obviously the movie lineup. Drax, Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, and then they had Iron Man for the first few issues, but he was just kind of a guest star. But I got these signed at a convention. I think it was SuperCon in Miami, and Steve McNiven was there, Justin Ponzer was there, so I brought all these books and got them signed. So there's Steve McNiven, Justin Ponzer. This is issue 2. Issue 3. Then, that was the last issue that Steve McNiven did the art on. But at another convention, might have been the same convention, I got some of the other issues from later signed by, again, Justin Ponzer, because he did the coloring again, and now Nick Bradshaw, who did the art for a few of these issues. So it was issue 14, which was when they kind of revamped the team. They added Agent Venom. I think Captain Marvel's on there. But Nick Bradshaw did the art on these. I really like his art. I mean, this cover is really good. So he signed that. And then issue 15, signed by the two of them. And issue 16, signed by them. So I have a lot of those, a lot of that old Guardians of the Galaxy run signed, which is pretty cool. Now, it should come as no surprise, the rest of my signed comic books are all Spider-Man books because, you know, the bulk of my collection is Amazing Spider-Man, obviously. Now, this first one is very cherished, near and dear to my heart. I got this at a convention. This comic, I originally won it in a giveaway on Instagram. Like, some YouTuber was doing a giveaway, and I actually won, which was awesome. Because this was a comic book that I'd wanted for a long time, and then I got it. And then I went to a convention and got it signed. This is Amazing Spider-Man 36, the famous 9/11 issue, one of my favorite comic book stories of all time because it's beautiful. I mean, in obviously a very depressing way, but I think just as a work of art, it's very moving. But I got it signed and sketched by Scott Hanna. So Scott Hanna is the... I want to make sure I get my info correct. I should have looked this up before. It's hard to keep track of everything. Again, he's either the inker or the colorist. I'm just going to make sure. He's the inker. So Scott Hanna is the inker on this issue. He was at one of the conventions I went to, so I walked up. I brought a couple books. I have another one signed by him, but popped this down to get it signed, and there was no one else at his booth when I was there, and so he just kind of like looked at it and he said, "Hey, mind if I do a quick sketch?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, go for it!" And he sketched this Spider-Man here. So, ooh, I'm showing secret information in the reflection there. Gotta move that. So, awesome book. I mean, I just love that sketch. It's so cool. So, I cherish that so much. I appreciate Scott Hanna so much for doing that. I mean, that was just so cool. Then I have issue 500, also signed by Scott Hanna. It kind of blends right down with the artist signatures here, but that's the actual autograph on issue 500 because he also inked this issue. So that's pretty cool. Then, these next massive chunk of comic books, the far majority of the rest of the books I have signed are signed by Humberto Ramos, the artist who worked on Amazing Spider-Man for many, 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 many years. He did a signing at that Heroes Haven comic shop that I used to go to, and I brought a fat stack of comics. I think I have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like 11 different comics that I brought in to get signed because I had a lot that he did art on. I obviously didn't get all the comics signed, but just picked out a few that I wanted to get signed. So this first one is actually Amazing Spider-Man 667. You can see the signature right there. This is Spider Island Part 1. As for why I chose to get this one signed, I mean, it's Spider Island Part 1, which is, sort of a big deal, but the main reason I wanted to get this signed is because this is actually the first comic book that I ever bought off the stands. And I talk about that in the Around the Boxes episode. Link will be up there. But this was the first comic book that I picked up off of the stands new. And so I got it signed by him because I thought, it'd be cool. Then I got 672, which is Spider Island Part 6. Got it signed by him right there. Now, I am not a huge fan of Humberto Ramos' art. It's not really my style. I like a little bit more realistic of a style, but obviously he's been an artist on the series for a long time. He's wrote some big storylines, so I was very excited to be able to get some books signed by him. This one's obviously a big issue. This is 700, signed by him right there. I would love to get this signed by Dan Slott one day, and then I'll probably send it into CBCS for the signature verified yellow label. A lot of these books I do want to get graded because before I didn't really have an option because CGC only gives you the yellow label if it's a witness signature, and I didn't get any of these witnessed when I got them signed. But CBCS does signature verification, so a lot of these I actually plan to send into CBCS to get them graded and then get that signature verified yellow label. So I will, of course, showcase when I do get those on the channel here. Next one I got signed was Superior Spider-Man, issue 14. First appearance of the Superior costume, signed by Humberto Ramos. Then I got issue 25 of Superior Spider-Man, just because it was a pretty big issue. I believe this is the issue that Peter Parker's ghost came back, and also obviously Superior Venom on the cover there. So it seemed like a good choice to get signed. Then I got Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, issue number 1. Got that signed, as well as issue number 2. Issue number 3. And then this one's a pretty big deal. Issue number 4. The reason this is a big deal is because this is the first full appearance of Silk, who's kind of become a pretty major character. I mean, she has her own book coming out soon. So I definitely plan, because this is definitely a 9.8. So I definitely plan to send this into CBCS to get that slabbed and graded, because it is a key issue signed by the artist. So this is actually a pretty valuable one. Then I got issue 5, signature there, and issue number 6. Because this signing was right around just after Volume 3 had come out. So that's why I just got every single one of those signed, because it was the most recent issues that had come out and they were all done by him. These last two, if you followed my channel for a while, you know these comics, you've seen them before. I'm sure you can predict what they're going to be. But if you're new to the channel, you might not even realize that I have these. These next comics are my holy grail comic books. I mean, these are the ones that I cherish so greatly. I would never part with. I would never sell them. You could offer me millions of dollars and I would never sell these comics. I plan to make an entire video talking about how I got these and the whole kind of backstory of that. But these are my most valuable comics by far. This is Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 2 and issue number 3, signed by Stan Lee himself. I got these signed at a convention. It was MegaCon in Orlando in 2014, I believe. And Stan Lee was there, and he did a panel, and he did a signing. And I obviously went. And these were the best Spider-Man comics I had at the time, so I chose to get these two signed. I could only really afford to get two because it was pretty expensive. I think it was like $60 or $65 per comic book to get them signed. So I chose to get these two because, I mean, it's issue number 2. And these were my most cherished comic books at the time, so. These as well, I plan to send into CBCS, not because they're necessarily high grade. These are both pretty low to mid grade comic books. I don't expect the grade to come back very good. But the reason I want to send these in is for 2 reasons. One, it would be nice to have the signature verified label. Obviously, I know that these signatures are real. I got them signed myself. But just as a collector, it's nice to have some sort of, verification, just so that when you show it to people, you kind of have that validation that it is real, even though, of course, again, I know it's real. But the main reason I want to send these into CBCS is because I want to get them slabbed, because these are very fragile, and I have them in Mylar. I have like 4 boards in here. I'm obviously very careful with them. I keep them in my box, all of that, but they're just so fragile and so valuable to me that I just really want to get them slabbed so that they'll be protected and secured for life. Because, the only reason I wouldn't want to get these slabbed is if I ever intended on opening them and reading them. But I can tell you I am never opening these comic books because they are so fragile. I don't want to risk ripping them, tearing them. The covers are barely attached. I don't want to get a cover detached, anything like that. So I plan to get these into CBCS. I'm just waiting till I can kind of afford it. And also, A big concern for me is I don't really want to mail these to CBCS because I would just be so anxious that that package would get lost or something would happen, because if anything happened to these, I would cry. I mean, these are my most prized possessions in my entire life, so I need to figure out a way to safely and confidently get these to CBCS, maybe dropping them off at a show or something like that, or even if I'm able to go and drop them off in person, I will make a weekend trip out of it, but we'll see what I do. But that's my signed comic book collection. I wanted to show you guys that because today I am adding a very noteworthy comic to that collection, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to dive into my weekly pickups. Let me just grab a sip of water. And let's do this. So, first things first, I want to show you guys my new books. So I didn't actually have any new books last week. None of the series I'm picking up came out with new issues last week, so that was interesting. But had a good few this week, so we're going to talk about them. So, first book I picked up this week was Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 32. This is Legacy 272. My feelings about this book are about the same as they were about last issue, which is that it's so quick and not really anything happens. I mean, it's so weird. Last issue was just Taskmaster attacks them, they fight him, end scene, end issue. Then this issue is he finds them, goes to rescue, Taskmaster's just like, okay, bye, the end. And that's the whole end of this 2-issue arc. Just seems like filler. It didn't really seem like there was very much substance to this story. It's just kind of boring. She seems like a cool character. I think her name is Starling. It's an interesting character, you know. I like what they're doing with her, but and as a love interest for Miles, it's interesting as well. But yeah, overall, not my favorite story, and also I'm not a big fan of the new costume. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys like Miles Morales' new costume? Because to me, it just looks like he's wearing sweats, which I know that's kind of the point, but it just doesn't look good. I liked his old Spider-Man costume, but I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority. I don't know. If you guys like it, let me know in the comments, because I really am curious if anyone really likes it or not. This next one I have been waiting for a while. Venom. Number 1. I have been waiting for this ever since 200 came out over the summer. Legacy 201. And the beginning of the new run, written by Al Ewing, Ram V, art by Brian Hitch. Or Brandon? Brian Hitch, I believe. This is, of course, the writer from Immortal Hulk? No. Oh my gosh. My mind is blanking. The most recent Hulk run that is very, very popular, was very, very good. I've been reading it recently. I'm about halfway through it. And it is super good. So it was kind of interesting because Al Ewing had a huge, very popular Hulk run, and then Donny Cates had a huge, very popular Venom run, and then they kind of switched books. So Al Ewing's over on Venom, now Donny Cates is going over to Hulk, which I'm really looking forward to that, because Donny Cates is an incredible writer. But anyway, this issue was pretty good. I don't love the art. Hitch is not my favorite artist. I knew I recognized the art style, and that's because he did the covers for, or maybe even the art for Sinister War, which if you guys saw that episode of Around the Boxes, I was not really a fan of those covers, and I'm feeling the same way about this. I've seen the previews for the covers for the next few issues of Venom, and all of those covers look really lame. I don't think he's a very good cover artist, but the interior art was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but story-wise, I thought it was really good. I think it's interesting to see kind of Eddie Brock as this. They've kind of merged the two worlds of Venom, because in the past few series, Venom has been, the street level, lethal protector, classic Venom, but then they have also done, the spacefaring Venom that kind of was in Guardians of the Galaxy, and all of that. So they kind of merged the two now into the one book, where they have Eddie Brock as this spacefaring King in Black Venom, kind of dealing with sci-fi elements and the cosmic universe, but then you have Dylan Brock as the grounded street-level Venom. I think that's going to be a really good balance, kind of going back and forth between the two. So I really enjoyed that. This was a thick book, and there was a lot of story in here, so that's really good. It was the opposite of Miles Morales, where that felt like it was over like that. This issue was actually a solid read with a lot of storytelling, and it definitely foreshadowed a lot to come in the run. So I'm here for it. I am looking forward to the rest of this series. I'm looking forward to see where they go with it and what they do. Obviously, this book ended with a pretty big cliffhanger. I won't spoil it, but I'm interested to see where it goes from here. So yeah, I'm a fan. I like it. I think it's good. I'm excited for the next issue. All in all, if you're a Venom fan, go pick it up. I think you'll be happy. I think you'll enjoy it. Next issue is The Amazing Spider-Man 78, Legacy 879, of course. I really like this cover. I like what they did with the title here. I like this art. Morbius looks cool. I think one thing that Beyond has been nailing is the covers. I think a lot of Beyond's covers are really good. The next few look really good. Next issue with Kraven looks awesome. But story-wise, this was probably my least favorite out of Beyond so far. This issue just kind of seemed really quick, and it didn't really offer any resolution to the story. It was like last issue, Morbius bit him. That was the cliffhanger ending, and then it came back to this. He's fighting Morbius. He goes back to the headquarters. They send out the other characters after Morbius, and he's in recovery. And then they fight Morbius, and then it's just kind of like, okay, now Kraven's here. Like, it didn't really resolve the story. It just kind of kept things moving. It felt a little rushed, I don't know, would be the way I would put it. I don't know. It wasn't as well put together as some of the other issues that have come out recently, in my opinion. So I definitely didn't enjoy this one as much. I did like seeing Black Cat. Seeing Black Cat visit Peter in the hospital was definitely interesting. And Mary Jane and her interaction was pretty cool. So I'm excited to see that Black Cat's becoming more of a... what's the word? She's back to being good. She's not a villain anymore. Like, Dan Slott tried to make Black Cat a villain for a while. I don't think that really worked, so I'm glad to see... Sorry, I'm trying to fix my terrible haircut. I'm glad to see that she's going to hopefully be back as a supporting character in the run. But yeah, I don't know. Beyond's good. Like, they've earned my trust at this point, so I'm not too worried about it, but this issue was just a little bit... probably my least favorite out of the run. Next couple comics, I have some back issues. Some modern back issues, some random back issues, and then I have a Silver Age book, and then, of course, the headliner. So this first one I want to show is from Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5. If you've been watching each of these episodes, you know I missed quite a few comics from the Volume 5 run, so I'm trying to go back and fill the gaps. So I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 38, just trying to pick up the ones I missed. Each week when I go to the comic store, I'll just pick out one that I don't have from the store, and then eventually I'll probably just go online and buy the rest that I need. But yeah, pick that up. These next two books came with the CGC book that I bought. The seller threw in 2 free comics just as like a extra. So this first one, it's Captain Marvel 28. Didn't read it. I've never really been a big Captain Marvel fan. It's a pretty cool cover. I mean, Sorceress Supreme. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this is going to go in my miscellaneous box. I'm never probably going to read it, but it's a free comic, so, whatever. He also threw in Amazing Spider-Man 348, which is pretty cool. I did have this issue already, but now I have 2. But I did think it was cool that he actually threw in a solid Spider-Man back issue. So that's pretty cool. So, yeah. Then I got another eBay pickup. This is another Silver Age comic book. This really would have fit in last week's episode, but I hadn't come in the mail yet as of last week. But this is a Thor comic. This is Journey into Mystery 111 with the Mighty Thor. This is a beautiful Jack Kirby cover. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. I got it on eBay. It was an auction. Got it for a great price. I think I got it for like $10, which is honestly pretty good condition. It displays really well, but obviously that's just a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. So filling in the Silver Age Thor collection with that. So very, very happy with that. All right, we've made it through my weekly pickups. we've made it to the headliner. So this next comic book, I tweeted about it. If you follow me on Twitter, you had a little bit of a preview. You kind of knew something was going on. As you guys know, I've been back on eBay picking up. That's where I bought that Thor comic, and that's where I bought a lot of my Silver Age books last week. And I was browsing eBay, and I found this comic for sale. And it was a great price. It was a really great price. I'm not going to say how much I spent, but I thought it was a really good price for what the comic book is. And I did not want to pass up the opportunity, so should I have spent as much money as I did? Probably not, but I pulled some strings and I made it work because this is just a holy grail comic. I mean, this is going to be right up there with my Stan Lee signed books for like top 5 in my collection. This is the biggest book that I have bought in the last 5 years. I'm so excited about this. I was like dying waiting for it to come in the mail. And it finally came last week. This is, here I'm gonna show a preview. Here's the back. You can see it's a yellow label. This comic book, my new pickup, is The Amazing Spider-Man 361, signed by Mark Bagley himself, CGC 9.6. What a beautiful comic book, guys. This is such a dream comic for me because, as you guys may know if you've watched my channel for a while, Carnage is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains of all time. Childhood, like, he was my favorite. My first Spider-Man comic I ever picked up was Maximum Carnage Part 4, which had Carnage in it, and that's why he was always my favorite. And this is, of course, the first full appearance of Carnage in this issue. He appeared in the Venom movie most recently, so that makes this a pretty big key issue. But I have a copy of 361 in my box over there. What makes this special is, of course, it's graded at a 9.6, which is awesome. The only thing better would be 9.8, but definitely not mad about a 9.6. But of course, what makes this a holy grail is it's signed by Mark Bagley, who is my favorite Spider-Man artist of all time. I mean, he's up there with John Romita. But the run, it was in my Around the Boxes episode. The back issues that I started picking up when I was a kid was the 90s, 300s, like late 300s of Spider-Man, where it was Mark Bagley doing the art. And so, this, when I think of Spider-Man comics, Mark Bagley's right at the top of my list, right there next to John Romita, and of course Steve Ditko. So having a book signed by Mark Bagley is just awesome. I mean, that is so great. First full appearance of Carnage, signed by Mark Bagley on 8/16/2021. What a gem. I want to put this on the wall somewhere. It's graded, it's slabbed. I want to put it up on display, but my long term, I want to send those Stan Lee signed books into CBCS, so then I'll have the 3 of those all kind of next to each other would be awesome. Something that I'm kind of looking for in the future. Oh, sorry, I see a little. Just checking out something. Something I would love to get in the future is to get issue 300 CGC signed by Todd McFarlane. I actually don't have a copy of 300, so that would be a big pickup for me. But how awesome would it be to have this and a 300 signed by Todd McFarlane next to each other? I mean, that would be so cool to have the 2 symbiotes, first appearances, signed by the artists who created them. That would just be so awesome. But yeah, this is just such a dream come true for me. I mean, I've wanted to get a CGC Signature Series comic book for a while now. And of course, having the first appearance of Carnage signed by my favorite artist who created him, that is just such an awesome pickup. So I am so happy with this comic book. And it was worth every penny. Honestly, with what I think this is worth, I probably doubled my money immediately. I mean, it was a really great deal that I got on this book. So, this is my huge pickup. I was so excited to show you guys this because this is such an awesome comic book. So, it's really just a dream book for me. I mean, when I saw it, I'll tell you the story. So I saw it on eBay, and I was losing my mind. I wanted to buy it, but it was a lot of money, and I was kind of sitting there contemplating it. And my fiance, she came home from work, and I went up to her. She was like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I was like, "You gotta talk me down." She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I am this close to spending a lot of money. You need to tell me, not to do it. Like, don't let me spend this money. And she goes, what are you going to spend the money on? And so I told her, I found this comic book on eBay that is a dream comic of mine. I mean, it's the first appearance of my favorite villain, signed by my favorite artist, CGC'd for a great deal. But like, oh man, I shouldn't spend the money, right? And just to give you an idea of how awesome my fiance is, which you guys will meet her on the channel sometime soon. But I was totally expecting her to say, no, of course not, don't buy that. That's a lot of money, don't do that, yada yada. She just looks right at me and she goes, I think you should do it. And I stopped for a second and I was like, what? Like, you think I should do it? And she goes, you should do it because you are going to regret it if someone else buys it and you don't get it. Because I had mentioned, like, oh, maybe I could wait, save up some money, try and get it. But there were, like, 30 people watching it on eBay. So I was afraid someone was going to snatch it up any second. So she actually told me, she was like, you should just do it. And so I did. And I was so nervous the entire time. Like, as I was going to buy it, I was nervous someone else was going to buy it first. But I got it. And I'm so happy I did, because this is just... man. This top 3. I mean, this and my 2 Stan Lee books would be my top 3 in my collection. I mean, this is immediately up there. So, yeah, as far as collection goals, I'd like to get 300 signed by Todd McFarlane. I think these two displayed together would be so awesome. That would just be so sick. Let's see. How much you guys think that would cost? Let's take a look. We'll do this perspective here. Amazing Spider-Man 300 CGC signed Todd McFarlane. Oh, that's about right. Oh, that's signed by 2 people. Is that David Michelini? Yeah, David Michelini. That's awesome. That is awesome. How much for just Todd McFarlane? $1,700? Yikes. Yeah, that's more than I spent on this. Considerably more, so might not be an anytime soon type of thing, but man, just picture that next to this. How awesome would that be? That would be so cool. But the craziest thing, I mean, if I look up Amazing Spider-Man 361, CGC 9.6, signed Mark Bagley. There's quite a few others. A lot of them, oh, here's one for bid. 2 days left. If you guys want to go pick it up, that's a great price. That's going to go up considerably, but a lot of these are actually sketched on. It seems like he does Carnage sketches a lot. You can see here. That's pretty cool. It's hard to make out on there, but... yeah, I spent less than that. I'll put it that way. I have not seen another listing of this book for less than what I spent, so I'm very happy with the price I paid. Because honestly, I mean, one of the first things I looked at was, of course, the value of a book like this. Which is a little hard to look at definitively because signatures can, But I looked up the value of Amazing Spider-Man 361 CGC 9.6, and the price for this was less than what this book would be worth not signed. So for it signed, I mean, I just knew that was a great price. I just had to pick it up. So beautiful. Oh my god, I just can't stop staring at it. I love that it's signed in silver marker too. It shows up really well on Carnage. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever bought a comic book that's signed without actually just getting it signed myself. But what a gem. First appearance of Carnage, signed by Mark Bagley. I love it. I love it, guys. I mean, I'm just on cloud 9. So definitely want to get more like this in the future. I am obviously going to look, but I think an awesome addition would be a 300 signed by Todd McFarlane. I mean, I definitely can't afford anything like this anytime soon, but I don't have a copy of 300, so I'm going to be looking to get one at some point in the future, so this isn't bad. 1,000. Where's the signature? Oh, is it signed like on the inside? That's a bit lame. Yeah, I'm obviously going to be looking to get an issue 300 at some point in the future. And I think when I do that, I'll probably just go the extra, spend the extra dollars to get a signed one by Todd McFarlane, because I think those two together would be such an awesome collection. That would just be so cool. But yeah, so that's the big book that I've been hyping up. I've been so excited about it. Oh man, I could just stare at it all day. I want to display my CGC books on the wall, because I have this one and then I have my 122. Which, speaking of, yeah, I need to get a 300 signed by Todd McFarlane so I can have those two together, and then I can have my two Stan Lee ones together, and then I need to get a 121, because I have... I don't know if you guys have seen this before. I have my 122 CGC 6.5, so it would be really cool to get a 121 to go with this, because then I would just have those two together. In the meantime, I will have these, which still looks great, of course, but it would be really cool, because I also don't have a 121. That's another Spider-Man key issue that I do not have. Let's see how much that would be. Doesn't need to be signed, just CGC'd. 500 for 7.5. Here we go. $500. Buy it now. 6.5. It's not bad. Then I'd have two 6.5s. Those would go great together. 1 and 1. I don't have $500. Shocker, I know. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. I'm gonna add that to my watch list. I'm just gonna... Oh, don't want you to see that. Oops. Not a big deal. Nothing sensitive there, but yeah, that would be awesome to pick up this book and have those two next to each other. Or an issue 300. Oh my gosh. I just keep doing it, huh? So yeah, that's my long-term collecting goal, would be to get something like that. To have 122 and 121, to have 300 and 361, to have my 2 and my 3 next to each other. That's kind of what I want to do. So I definitely want to start getting more graded books, because it's just, they look so nice in the slab and with the grade, and obviously it's, you know, huge to the value of the comic book having it graded. So I think I will definitely buy more graded comic books, but I also want to send in a lot of my books to CBCS to get those signature verified and slabbed and all of that. So I'll be looking to do that in the near future. But I think that about does it for this episode of Around the Boxes. A little bit of a shorter one. Mostly just wanted to show you guys my pickups and show you guys that 361, because, I mean, look at it! Just look at it! I'm sorry. I'm a kid again. I'm just so excited about it. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. So I will see you in the next one. It might be next week or it might be the week after, because next week is my birthday. So I might be a little busy. But yeah, I will see you guys back on the channel. I'm going to be making some videos pretty soon, so you can look for those. And I have something very, very exciting that will be coming very, very soon. I can't tell you more, but what I can tell you is stay tuned to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. That will probably be the first place that you will hear about it. So if you want to hear about the very exciting thing that I have coming, go check out Twitter, because I will definitely be dropping some teasers over there. So that is the place to go for all of the information on that. They also got teased about the 361 first. So again, if you want access to that stuff, go follow me on Twitter. Hit subscribe if you guys haven't, and I will look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys